of the most entertaining things about seeing this movie at TIFF was the number of people looking for the line, but too embarrassed to say the name of the movie to ask where it was. I can't wait to see that play out at theaters around the world. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. As part of my coverage of the 2024 Toronto International Film Festival, today I'm going to be talking about the 2024 dark comedy, Nightbitch, which will be released in theaters on December 6th. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content, like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Nightbitch stars Amy Adams, Scoot McNairy, and Jessica Harper, and was directed by Marielle Heller. Based on Rachel Yoder's 2021 novel, it tells the story of an overtired stay-at-home mom to a toddler who begins to think she's turning into a dog. I know I'm stating the obvious here, but a name like Nightbitch is a bit provocative. There's some inherent shock to seeing language like that in the title of a wide-release film, but it's also provocative in an intriguing way. It conjures up ideas of so many story possibilities. This film is based on a book, so some people will already have a good idea, but many will see that title and be left wondering what this movie could be. A vampire horror flick? A neo-noir femme fatale story? Maybe a mid-2000s teen sex comedy? There are a lot of possibilities, but chances are good most people wouldn't assume the title was literal. And yet here we have a movie about a woman who thinks she might be turning into a dog at night. It's an audacious name, but it's got a boldly bizarre premise to go along with it. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Nightbitch is a unique and odd blend of a film. It attempts to meld magical realism with transformative body horror, dark comedy with conventionally bright mom humor, familiar family drama with a thematic meditation on motherhood. It's an odd mixture that doesn't always feature the smoothest transitions, with clumps of various genres and tones popping up unmixed throughout the blend, but it remains an intriguing concoction. Despite this film's undeniably bizarre premise, it treads some incredibly familiar thematic ground. Most of the commentary on motherhood here has been cinematically explored in the past, but that doesn't mean it's not worthwhile to revisit and reiterate, especially when contained within such an unusual and attention-grabbing package. Nightbitch tackles the frustration associated with societal expectations of motherhood, the pressures put upon mothers, by men, by other women, and even by themselves. The protagonist here is a mother who doesn't feel like she's able to conform to these expectations. She loves her son, but doesn't feel like motherhood is the fulfilling blessing that so many people insist it should be. She's swallowed up by the repetitious tedium of her daily routine, regretting her decisions and thinking about all that she gave up, mourning the loss of the life she once had, and the life she could have had she not gotten pregnant. This is a character who feels as though she's lost her individuality, and all the things that once made her, her. She's lost her identity, so it's fitting that this character is unnamed, referred to only by the role she's expected to play, mother. These are all ideas and themes you've seen in other movies, and likely things you've recognized or observed in real life too, but they're concepts that will still resonate with people, especially first-time parents. For a film about a woman slowly becoming a dog, you really need to find the right person to play the role. And Amy Adams is great here, believably capturing both aspects of the character. The tired, downtrodden mother who gave up on her dreams to clean messes and deal with tantrums, and the primal, empowered woman embracing her feral canine side. Adams might not have been the first choice to come to mind if these roles were individually cast, but she nails the continuously vacillating combination of the two. No part of this role is glamorous, from tufts of hair sprouting up in odd places, to running on all fours and digging holes in the dirt, to frequent moments of public embarrassment. This is an unpleasant time for Mother, and Amy Adams really goes for it. Her frustration and anger is palpable, but she's also the source of most of the story's humor, with her comedic timing, well-placed reactions, and entertaining delivery of internal monologue. The secondhand embarrassment for this character may make you want to cringe at times, but it remains relatable as Adams embraces the weirder aspects of the story and runs with them. Speaking of weird, this is a film that goes to some unusual places. I've already mentioned the strange premise and the odd genre and tonal blend, which all certainly contribute to this. The bizarre and occasionally gross moments of body horror further add to the weirdness, but something that's perhaps less obvious is the structure. I'm not sure if this matches the book's approach, but this film seems extremely reluctant to commit to whether aspects of the story are real or imagined, instead ensuring that it remains ambiguous. It makes frequent use of the fake-out daydream trope, in which we see a situation play out, only to discover that the things said or done in the scene were what Mother wished she could have said, rather than the more traditionally conforming response that she actually provides afterwards. This is done repeatedly throughout the film, and after the first few times, it conditions the audience to expect that what we initially see is happening purely in Mother's mind. But then, where does that leave the magical realism of the canine transformations? The ambiguity of this more overtly open for interpretation approach is probably more palatable for mainstream audiences who have an easy way to explain away the weird, but it does feel like the film holds back in that regard. It's more bark than bite, with its familiar exploration of motherhood and female rage, and never feels fully unleashed when it comes to the weirdness and inherent absurdity of its plot. Nightbitch is a darkly funny and highly enjoyable film, but when compared to the potential of its premise, it definitely feels a bit neutered. Or, I guess, spayed in this case. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one is Amy Adams. There are certainly other actors that I could imagine in this role, but Adams' performance adds something beyond what's written on the page. There's this relatable believability to her here, and you buy her performance of both aspects of this character, the unfulfilled and overly tired mom who gave up on her dreams, and the empowered and angry woman embracing canine impulses and refusing to conform to the societal expectations of what a mother should be. It's a rough and unglamorous role, but Adams brings equal parts humor and ferocity to the screen, with a performance that uncovers something unexpectedly primal. The second pro has gotta be the themes. I recognize that some people would probably shift this particular aspect over to the con side due to overfamiliarity. It's true that most of the ideas and thematic commentary here has popped up in other movies before, but for me, it's more about the presentation and incorporation of the ideas, rather than whether or not they're groundbreaking or revolutionary. Yes, we've seen all the jokes and Reddit posts about how it's not considered babysitting if it's your own kid. We've seen movies about moms embracing normal attitudes, even if they're called bad moms by the overzealous PTA organizers. We know from personal or observational experience the pressures put on mothers, and the fact that personalities and identities that once existed disappear completely, and everything becomes about the kid or about motherhood. But reiteration of these ideas, especially when packaged within such a bizarre premise, remains worthwhile. On the con side, the biggest issue is how defanged this film feels. Now, I've never read the book, though I did talk to several people at TIFF who were disappointed by the changes, but even without having read the book, the premise and the film's initial approach to that premise are enough to give a sense of the potential that the story held. The potential to say something new or controversial. The potential to fully lean into body horror, or to just go all in on the weirdness of the story. And there are hints of that here. This isn't just a normal story, but it really feels like it's holding back. That it's somehow sanitized by the very norms and expectations it's trying to satirize and take down. The second con is somewhat related to the first, and is the frequent use of fake-out daydreams. So one of the ways I think the film was defanged was the introduction of crutch ambiguity. It leaves things open to interpretation, but in a way that feels more like an out or an excuse, rather than something intentionally thought-provoking. It feels like it's really trying to downplay the magical realism, so the repeated use of daydream sequences conditions the audience to assume that anything outrageous is happening purely in Mother's head. It's certainly a useful technique for trying to convey that, but it ends up being overused here, and actually undermines aspects of the story. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Nightbitch or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you use them. if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Nightbitch 3.5 out of 5 paws. Featuring a palatable but spade sense of ambiguity, this film is largely driven by Amy Adams's primal performance. In spite of some heavy-handedness, this darkly funny film effectively tackles some familiar motherhood themes, but does so in a fun and amusingly weird way. I would recommend Nightbitch to people looking for a weird and dark comedy about motherhood. This will definitely resonate more with mothers who don't feel like they fit neatly into societal expectations of motherhood, but is thematically broad enough to be entertaining to just about anyone. Fans of the book may be underwhelmed by the defanged lack of bite to the story, but Amy Adams' strong performance will probably help offset any disappointment. If you liked Nightbitch, I would recommend Tully, starring Charlize Theron and Mackenzie Davis. This is another comedy that explores the challenges of motherhood and the identity-based changes that it can cause. Tully doesn't have the horror components of Nightbitch, but its initial ambiguity culminates in an ending that's satisfyingly unexpected. If you liked the woman turning into a dog aspect of the story, you should watch Bitch. The titles are obviously similar, but that's not where the similarities end. Released before Nightbitch was ever written, this low-budget dark comedy focuses on an overstressed stay-at-home mom who finally snaps and begins to behave like a dog, at the exclusion of her familial responsibilities. If you'd prefer to venture outside of the comedy genre, you might want to check out Parallel Mothers. This focuses on two women at different life stages who meet while pregnant and form a bond. Although more of a straightforward drama, it's another film that explores women who find themselves not fitting into societal expectations of what motherhood should look and feel like. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Nightbitch? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite movie about the challenges of motherhood? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainely Movies, the way life should be.